Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Donnie, the season is 6 months. 5 if you check out in September. You're gonna have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month, that is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're gonna win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's a Yankee tax and Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes one. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like it. Does he think he's playing on the opening kickoff? Does he want to get a handoff at that point?
I mean, he's involved in the program. Here's the problem with James Franklin.
Why do coaches even run out with the football team? Like, Andy Reid doesn't run out with the Chiefs.
Yeah, but it's the NFL. This is college kids.
They're college basketball. Do those
they're
guys
like a
run out
father figure. Well, they used to be like a father figuring. Now the kids are making more than the coach.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Steve Ballmer says the Clippers welcome an investigation into Kawhi Leonard. Plus, could Djokovic surprise Alcaraz at the U.S. Open? Hi, everyone, and welcome to Front Office Sports Today from FOA Studios in New York City. I'm Baker Machado.
And I'm Daryl Barnes in for Renee Washington. Thanks so much for joining us. Every day, we chat the biggest stories happening in the business and culture of sports. We've also got Chiefs legend Priest Holmes on to chat the NFL game in Brazil tonight, but first, as always, let's dive into the headlines on the shoot-around.
Yeah, and let's start with a wild kickoff to the NFL season last night, Daryl. And no, we're not talking about that hour-long delay due to lightning. Yeah, just 6 seconds into the game last night, Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter was ejected after spitting on Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. That after the two got face-to-face during injury delay. Now, video before the incident also showed Prescott spitting in the direction of Carter and the Eagles, to which Prescott chalked up to a misunderstanding. Now, Carter has since apologized, and coach Nick Sirianni would not reveal whether Carter would face any internal discipline here, but what a wild way to start the opening kickoff for the NFL season, Daryl.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little interesting to see Dak not getting as much heat as Jalen Carter is, but I don't know, Baker, are you a Star Wars fan at all?
I mean, I'm not, but I get a lot of the analogies, so whatever you're about to say, I probably likely will understand.
No, this gave a lot of, on Twitter, looking at videos of Dak Prescott after they got the shot of him spitting first, like the Han shot first moment. So Dak spit first is what everyone's saying.
And look, the Eagles ended up winning the game at the end of the day, so maybe this all sort of becomes moot at the end of the day. But just the fact that there was rumors and talk about Micah Parsons, that the Eagles had inquired about trading him from the Cowboys. The Cowboys didn't want to trade within their own division, and now you have this spit situation on the first game of the season. I mean, already the gloves are off at the start of this year. All right, Caitlin Clark's second WNBA season is officially over. That is, the Fever star said she would not return for the Fever's final 3 regular season games and potentially the playoffs if the team makes it. Clark, who's been dealing with a groin injury and a bone bruise, said on social media, quote, "Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I'm feeling. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there's good here, Daryl."
Yeah, I mean, kind of couldn't come at a worse time for the Fever, right? 3 games left in the season. They're a game and a half above the Sparks for that last seed in the playoffs. But also, yeah, obviously a disappointing second season for Clark. Kind of sucks that she missed out on a lot of the cool things that were set up to happen for her,
the
right?
All-Star game.
The All-Star game right there in Indy,
Indianapolis.
the 3-point contest, now majority of the season, and now the playoffs.
But there could be a silver lining here, given the fact that her new shoe line is coming out next year. She'll be 100% healthy for all of that. But either way, sad sophomore season for her. Well, boxing legends Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather are going to fight in an exhibition match next spring with a location, date, and more to be announced later. The 48-year-old Mayweather retired after knocking out MMA superstar Conor McGregor back in 2017, and his most recent exhibition was last year in 2024. And of course, we all know the 59-year-old Tyson famously last fought against Jake Paul in November, the first time he had competed in nearly 2 decades. So what do you think of this? Mike Tyson, it kind of seems like he's excited for this, but I don't know how this is going to go over.
I think Mike Tyson is excited for the paycheck that's going to come along with this. I don't know that anyone wants to see them actually box. I think it's more so they're trying to get one last check-in.
Yeah, and also, who's going to cover this? We know, obviously Netflix did the Tyson-Paul match. Does Netflix or one of these other streamers want to do this one also? Would be interesting.
Netflix got a lot of heat after that one.
Yes, they did. Well, the U.S. Open Women's finally set after Aryna Sabalenka and Amanda Anisimova both won in 3 sets on Thursday night. With all expectations for yet another Sinner Alcaraz men's final, could Novak Djokovic play spoiler and also make Grand Slam history as well? So let's take a look at that and so much more in today's main event. All right, let's bring in ESPN betting analyst Pam Maldonado. Pam, good to have you here, joining us from Austin. So what are your thoughts on Anisimova's wild ride to the U.S. Open Finals here?
If you want to talk about a comeback story, it's definitely one for the ages. Literally never happened because 2 months ago, Anisimova double bageled at Wimbledon, and now she's in a Grand Slam final, literally in the major right after. So it's not just about, it being a turnaround. It's a great story, but it's definitely resilience. When it comes to tennis, there's nothing that's more prevalent than a mental mindset, because it's you against you and then your opponent across. And she battled through. Like, I don't think the story, as big as it is not being talked about enough. So the great story for her, great rebound. I'd love to see it. It's one for the ages.
I agree.
Well, you want to talk about another resilient story. How about Naomi Osaka?
Yeah.
I mean, who is the bigger story? Like Anisimova's run or Naomi Osaka kind of battling back from so low in the rankings to make it this far in the tournament?
In the short term, you have to consider what Amanda Anisimova is doing is absolutely brilliant. She rebuilt her confidence one swing at a time, found her first strike tennis again. It's not a fluke. This is a reminder of her ceiling in the game. If we're talking about long term, Naomi Osaka being back is so great for tennis. She's one of the faces that we have now in the game who's been around for a very long time. And she didn't just show up to this U.S. Open. She really re-announced herself as a contender again. She powered past Coco Gauff, who is one of the biggest names in the game. The trademark style of aggressive tennis that she has, heavy serves, fearless forehands. She's taking the ball early, which means that she is playing with a lot of confidence. And to me, that says sustainability. That says she has that mental calmness that we really haven't seen from her all year long. We've seen it in spurts, but now we finally got to see the confidence in full effect from her first match, even into her loss in the semifinal. So I think for long-term storyline, Naomi Osaka, this is not a fluke. This is not a one-off. This is her having her swagger back, her confidence back, her game. So this becomes where she can be a contender in majors from here on out.
Yeah, and I think that's really spot on. And I think the other thing Naomi Osaka sort of was insinuating when she was doing her press last night about how proud she was for making this far is sort of the point system within the WTA. When you take, let's say, a mental health break, or you take time off to have a child like Naomi Osaka did, or even in Venus Williams' case, you're gone for an extended period of time, the ranking system disincentivizes you because you're then lower ranked and you're having to play all these higher seeds. Is that sort of an issue in the tennis world where you have people like Naomi Osaka, a former #1, who's now a 23rd seed?
Yeah, I think it's both the WTA system. I think it's both good and it's a little bit frustrating too, because on the good side, it does make sense. Like, it's rolling a 52-week system, so your ranking always reflects where your game is right now and not just what you did like 3 years ago. Crush it in a slam, you're going to get rewarded big. 2,000 points to that. But on the other side of it, like, it is brutal because if you just mentioned, like, if you get hurt, if you take a break that you chose to take, then you miss tournaments and your points kind of vanish, and suddenly you're now grinding out qualifiers or facing more tougher opponents because you've dropped in the rankings. So being seeded definitely helps because it helps with where the bracket is going to be and who your opponent's going to be in round 1, in round 2, which is going to more often than not dictate, can you make it into a semifinal? So if you can't afford to travel everywhere, or you're like stuck in the wild cards, good luck trying to crack the top 50. But is it good? Yes. Is it popular? No. But it also makes sense on both sides.
Yeah, let's swing over to the men's side then. I mean, can Djokovic kind of crack into this Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner party?
Yeah.
Maybe spoil one of their
The
rides.
thing y'all need to know is I am like the biggest Novak Djokovic truther. This is not normally filled. I have coffee with him every day. He doesn't know it yet.
Yes.
And I want to believe that he definitely has a chance to beat Alcaraz. Between Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, Alcaraz is definitely the opponent that Djokovic can defeat. He has a greater chance of. Is he going to here in this tournament? I don't think so. I think it being an afternoon match, two things happening with that. One, the players are robbed because they're getting an afternoon instead of being under the lights, Arthur Ashe. And two, like, we're getting robbed because he does truly have the potential by it being an afternoon match. It's hotter. The conditions are a lot more difficult. Does he have the game to still contend? Absolutely. But he's playing against Carlos Alcaraz, who's one of the freshest players on tour in the afternoon heat. I would love to believe so. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, going to be really interesting. We should note, though, Djokovic has never lost to Alcaraz on the hard court, and it is 5-3 against him. But either way, I think you're spot on. It's going to be a difficult one for Djokovic to win here.
And this is also their first U.S. Open meeting, though.
Yes,
so this is a different.
very true.
This is a different. All hard court. No two hard courts are no alike. Everything has a different surface. Timing comes into play. So the balls come into play. There's a lot of factors other than it's just a hard court. So it should be a good match.
Yes, indeed.
It should be a good match.
Absolutely. Pam Maldonado, thank you so very much for joining us, ESPN betting analyst. And don't go anywhere, guys. We're previewing the big game in Brazil tonight on YouTube with Chiefs legend Priest Holmes. That's next.
I was looking at it through my phone at first. I'm like, why is there such a delay? And why are we getting pitch hitters right away? Oh, the pitcher got thrown out for some reason. Maybe he hurt himself. But no, turning out and seeing a brawl was absolutely hilarious to let that one play out. Just the way it is sometimes in baseball. We don't get a lot of good fights and a lot of good brawls and anger, specifically from two teams that aren't going to the playoffs. So good on them for showing that moxie last time. But it's good to see a little bit of a brawl and a little bit of that passion here.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You're looking for JJ. You and I already discussed here. Addison's gone for a couple of games here. They don't have a number 3. Thielen, fine. You do have a nice tight end here. The running game could be solid here. Like I said, I don't think he'll have the least productive season of his career. If the question was how it should have been with the injuries, I might have said yes, because then it would be 88, 1,407. So then I might have said yes.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
No better place to be than SportsGrid. College football today, right here on the SportsGrid Network. Joe, Lisi, Donnie, right side for the entire season, Joe, on Saturday. This is your place. This is your place to be, Joe.
I love it. I tell you. And it's flying. Show's flying. We're on an hour already. I can't wait. We're licking our chops for these Rat Pack games. And it's a great slate.
Look at you on the screen right now.
Look like a little rat.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
The reason why I feel like Jared Goff doesn't really enter these MVP conversations. Jared Goff last year was on the team with the best record in football, threw for 4,700 yards, 37 touchdowns, and Tom was never in the race. He was never in the race because we know he's not that guy.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today with Darryl Barnes. I'm Baker Machado. With the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers are set to play in the very first game streamed live for free on YouTube today in Brazil. This as the league continues its international expansion. So what are the expectations for Mahomes and company? Well, let's bring in former Chiefs legend Priest Holmes on the show. Hi, Priest. Good to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, guys. Appreciate being on this morning.
All right, so let's talk about the big game tonight, the Chiefs and Chargers in Brazil, streaming live for everybody, which is really exciting. So this probably could break global records in terms of viewership numbers. What are you thinking about tonight's game?
Well, I'm excited about the matchup, and for the Chiefs to be able to go abroad and have their first game. Again, there's going to be some definitely some transitioning. You're going to get acclimated to the environment. They're going to be closer to the equator, so it's going to be burning hot, and I think they're going to have a good game.
Well, speaking of a good game, I want to talk about last night. I know you got a wealth of Chiefs knowledge, but real quick, last night, what were your thoughts on the Spitgate, as everyone's been calling it?
Yeah, you call it the spit game. You know, it's one of those things for Carter. You like to be not captured that quickly and within 6 seconds, and actually he got ejected from the game. But the game actually started off really fast. Philly did exactly what they normally do. Hurts stayed composed during the entire game. And again, he beat you with his arms and he beat you with his legs.
Yeah, and of course the Eagles playing week 2 against the Kansas City Chiefs, by the way, which will be a really great Super Bowl rematch there. What are your expectations there for that game? And do you think that that's going to be one of the biggest games of the year for the Chiefs this year?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm actually going to be back in Arrowhead next week, and it'll be an exciting game. I'll get a chance to reunite back with the fans, my ambassadors as well. But as far as the Chiefs go, I think that they're going to show up definitely for that game. The first home game of the season. It's going to be nice. Actually, I think everybody should tune in because there's going to be this little small piece during the beginning of the game. I believe there's going to be a foundation tossing me a football, so I'm going to catch the first pass of the game, technically, before the game starts.
Whoa, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, so everyone's got to check out Priest back on the field.
Yes, exactly.
No, but then let's rewind it back to also just tonight, Chiefs playing in Sao Paulo. This is the 4th now international game that they've played. Chiefs have said they want to become the world's team. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely possible because, of course, what they've done here in the last 5 years, they've definitely showed up postseason. Arguably being one of the best teams, obviously, here in this last decade. They've done everything right, I think, with Pat Mahomes and, of course, Kelsey leading that group. And then with Kelsey being, obviously, a veteran, of course, and now having his fiancée, I think that there's going to be so much more excitement as well. I mean, I have a little daughter as well that's 13, and, of course, she knows more about football now because of that union between Kelsey and his fiance.
We know, Priest, you had an incredible career with the Ravens, with the Chiefs, and so many others, but I really feel like we're seeing a running back resurgence right now, especially running backs that are actually getting paid. What's your thought so far on these running backs that are finally getting paid right now?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity. I think Saquon definitely opened up that opportunity and that door again. I think he busted it open with his performance in 2024. Also, the fact that, with Saquon with being the offensive player of the year, I think that was an accolade much needed. But obviously there was the MVP, and I'm saying, okay, what happened to that opportunity? Because the numbers he put up was incredible. As far as running backs getting the opportunity to get paid, I love it. You have to remember, when I played in the league, I think league revenue was between 6 and 8 billion. It's upwards of over 20 billion now. So of course, you times those contracts 10 years ago, 15 years ago, times 3 or 4, you can almost like a 10x now, and it's incredible for the running backs to be able to get that recognition. But at the same time, you're still getting that 1 or 2 running backs like Bijan Robinson that actually had an opportunity here in the last 2 years. They still are being underrated, I say, in terms of draft picks, because they're still really good backs and they're not getting looked at into the 3rd or 4th round.
Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you about the NFLPA. Obviously, you being involved with the former players chapter there. Do you think that the NFLPA is something that needs a former player really to run the whole thing?
Well, being a former chairman of the NFLPA Former Players Union, I've had an opportunity to sit in those meetings with the owners and also the current players, also with the executive committee. There's a former player, Don Davis. He's been in the mix. He's actually been there. Probably his tenure is longer than anyone else in terms of as a former player that could actually take over that position. I know he's been in the running. He's been overlooked a couple of years here in the past, but a former player does add a special ingredient to the opportunity to be in that position because he has more of a relationship with current players, and also now being a former player, he's going to understand. I think that first 5 years is crucial as a former player. Number one, in your first 5 years, your insurance is no longer provided by the NFL, so now you're out on your own in the market, which most players, they have no problem getting the insurance, but for those guys that have had, those unfortunate situations or have been scammed, that's a situation for those guys that they get in trouble with their medical being covered. But go back to your question, former player, definitely. I'm definitely got my vote as well. But Rod Robinson right now, he's a former chairman that's now taken over my position, and I think he's doing everything he can to add that piece of advice as a former player.
All right, while we still got you, Priest, let's talk about your big announcement today. There's a new show available called The Home Stretch, available on Playmaker HQ, of course, everywhere podcasts are available right now. This launched today. Tell us a little bit about what people can expect on this new show.
Yeah, so Home Stretch, I got an opportunity with a co-host, Mark Seaman. He's a great guy as well. He's got like a little comedic background as well. Band player, if you can think of that. He's been on Sirius as well. But the Home Stretch is going to be a great show. We're going to actually be talking sports, doing some storytelling. And then, of course, you know, I came in an era in football where it was packaged a little bit different. So as if you would think about putting something in the post office and handling it with fragile and with care, which the way they handle the guys now these days. But in the time that I played, it was a different ball game. So to hear those stories and hear about the way we had to sacrifice our body, those are the stories that you're going to hear about.
I love that. And of course, the podcast available starting today, The Home Stretch, of course, through Playmaker HQ. Priest, really quickly, are we expecting the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl this year?
You know, we did that prediction actually on my podcast, and of course, I picked Detroit versus Kansas City.
Okay.
Now, of course, offensive coordinator for Detroit is no longer there, so you know who's going to be putting those plays together. But I think they got a powerful duo in the backfield, and then of course we can't speak less of the Kansas City Chiefs, led by Mahomes. They call him Mahomes Magic right now, so I think he's going to be able to perform some of that on the field in 2025. This season is going to be great.
Those drop passes, the rain, everything it seems, spitting. What a way to open up the NFL season last night. Priest Holmes, great to have you here, NFL legend. Of course, you can listen to his new show, The Home Stretch, wherever you find your podcasts. Priest, thanks so much for joining us.
Okay, appreciate it, fellas. Have a good day.
And we got a lot more front office sports today headed your way right after this quick break.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole lot of money in there. Boy, I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football, because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, you know, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced. The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When is Caitlin Clark coming back? Is it in this regular season? Is it going to be to start the postseason? Is it not at all? It's one of the most fascinating things of this WNBA season that we aren't talking about with regularity because it's just been so long. And, you know, I know it may not feel it, but Caitlin Clark's last game was the 15th of July.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today. Well, Clippers owner Steve Ballmer says he wants the league to investigate those allegations that his team circumvented the salary cap, that in order to pay star Kawhi Leonard $28 million from an endorsement from a now bankrupt green banking company. He told ESPN's Ramona Shelburne that he takes the allegations seriously. So for more on this ever-evolving story, let's bring in FOS reporter Alex Schiffer. So, Alex, I think a lot of people were surprised that Ballmer went and did this interview. What else did he tell Ramona Shelburne here?
Only so much, in my opinion. You know, he said how Aspiration reached out to him about a relationship with Kawhi, not the other way around. He also kept pointing out how he got conned by Aspiration, just like everybody else did. and he only offered so much evidence about his side of this and how he's innocent. He said that he has an email from Aspiration that asks to be introduced to Kawhi around November 2021 or so, 2 months after Steve Ballmer first invested with them. So those were my biggest takeaways. I think he kind of talked around some things, and I think he kind of said that he has some evidence, but that was the only bit he offered.
Yeah, and he talked a lot about knowing the rules and then knowing that they did not break those rules. And another guy that knows those rules then is Mark Cuban, former owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He went on Pablo Torre's podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, that episode released this morning. I mean, did we learn anything new from that, or what was kind of your takeaways?
Yeah, Mark Cuban kept saying how, Steve Ballmer, former CEO of Microsoft, one of the richest people in America, let alone amongst NBA owners, is too smart to let this happen. Giving him common sense, I agree, but as a NBA general manager once told me, common sense is not that common. But, I think that, Mark Cuban kind of adamantly backing Steve Ballmer when we only know so much about this is a little bit of blind loyalty in my opinion. But I do agree with the fact that it's pretty cut and clear that Steve Ballmer's not a dummy. And if he did let this happen with a paper trail, is pretty mind-blowing.
That's sort of been the talk from Stephen A. Smith and Cuban. It's how, Steve Ballmer, who's worth tens of billions of dollars, the former CEO of still one of the biggest companies in the world, and Microsoft, could allow himself to be, scammed in this situation. But I guess, I think every day it seems like this story gets murkier and murkier. What sort of things do you think are going to start to come out next, and where do you sort of see this story going from here, Alex?
Well, the thing that fascinates me is that both sides claim to have a paper trail. Pablo Torre had that huge stack of what he went through with all this. Steve Ballmer claims that he has emails, and what's interesting to me about this is Steve Ballmer, again, I think our consensus among the three of us that he's a smart guy, is leaving room for doubt, in my opinion, in some ways, and where he said, I haven't reviewed the bankruptcy documents that are at the center of this thing that got Pablo Torre on the trail of this, but I am reviewing my history with this company because of the Department of Justice investigation. Well, wouldn't those documents be the bankruptcy documents of what you'd be owed out of this be part of what you're looking into? So that's weird to me. I think that we're going to get some kind of definitive answer on this because it just seems like there is a lot of documentation surrounding it all. And again, I think that's kind of rare in some of these cases.
Yeah, very good point. It's going to be interesting to see where this story continues to go. FOS reporter Alex Schiffer with all of the latest for us. Alex, thank you so much. And let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler. Okay, so Derryl, this Friday's water cooler a little bit different. Our friends over at TickPick are helping us out with some of the big tickets happening this weekend. Of course, the average price for some of these games a lot lower, especially as we saw with the Eagles game against the Cowboys at $800. But let's start with the men's U.S. Open final on Sunday. Maybe we see Alcaraz in center, and maybe somebody's going to be spending $43,893 to sit in section 53, row AA. That's probably next to Ludacris and Shonda Rhimes, who sat next to me last night. What do you think of that? 43 grand, would you pay that to go see the U.S. Open final?
I mean, that's 170 short of 44 grand.
And that's just one ticket.
I don't know that that's for me. I don't know that my wallet is that deep. Maybe it's Alcaraz center, maybe it's Djokovic.
It could be Djokovic going for the 25th Grand Slam. That could be a really good hot ticket item. All right, the most expensive college football ticket this weekend is Oklahoma and Michigan. The most expensive price, $3,116. This, by the way, the best college football matchup of the weekend. Not as bad as 43 grand.
Not as bad. Still out of my price point, but I don't know. I could see you flying out.
All right, a little bit lower than that. We also have the most expensive NFL ticket this weekend. Bears-Vikings, the price $2,642. That's on Monday Night Football this week. What do you think of that? Not as bad, I guess, $2,600.
I mean, yeah, not as bad. I was expecting NFL to be more, but
honestly, the most worth it, and I think the biggest bang for the buck is that Bears-Vikings game. $2,600. I would not spend 40 grand to go into the U.S. Open. By the way, if you want tickets to any of these events or more in your neighborhood, download the TickPick app and use promo code FOS10 for 10% off your first order from TickPick. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. We'll see you next Monday.